I'm going to use this little layup table. This is just a piece of plywood with a couple of strips, 1/4-inch strips stapled to the face of it. It creates a perfect right angle here. Makes it a lot easier to pre-assemble crown molding. The first thing I'll do is I'll take the first 2 pieces. Here's that self-return cap. And here's the second piece we cut with the self-return. They go together just like that. We'll put those into the layup table, and notice how that layup table will actually hold those up. These pieces will almost stand up by themselves once they're in that layup table, which makes it a lot easier to pre-assemble your moldings. The first thing I'm going to do is run a good bead of glue on both sides of this miter. You want to glue both sides of every miter so that you get a good glue joint. We don't need a fly in there. You want to run a good bead of glue on there, and both sides, because that way, if you're doing stain grade work, none of the stain will get wicked up into that end grain and darken those miters. And both sides, because you want a really good reinforced joint. You want to stop moisture from penetrating that wood too. So that glue serves several purposes. You got a good amount of glue in there, and now I'm going to take a spring clamp, one of Collins Tool Company's miter clamps, and put it on that joint. And that'll put some good pressure on there and hold it still so I can fire some nails through it. I want to just get rid of some of this waste glue so I can line this miter up. And even with that spring clamp on, I can still wiggle this piece around and adjust that miter so it's just perfect. And now I can fire a 23 gauge pen right through this. I can even put in 2, and it won't split that little piece of wood. Now let's put the second piece together. We'll get some of this wasted glue out of there. Now the second joint I have to put together in the other direction because it's an inside corner. So I turn the molding right side up. And remember, this is right side up. That outside corner we just assembled was upside down. And there's the joint that we're going to put together. I'll glue up this one too. And we'll put the glue on both sides of the miter. And then put that joint together too. When I do inside corners, I like to put clamps at the top and the bottom of the joint. So I'll put one down here and draw that joint together nice and tight. And then I'll put another clamp in right up here at the top of the joint. And the reason I do that is because I really don't trust the rear profile on the crown. I need to see the face of the crown. First, let's get rid of some of that excess glue. I like to be able to turn it over like this and check out that miter. We'll get rid of some of that glue too and make sure that that joint is fit nice and tight and seamless right on through that inside corner. Now we can shoot that together too. I'll take the same 23 gauge pin nailer and I can fold those miter clamps out of the way and shoot a nail right through there. I can even stitch this thing together with this nail gun all the way down to the lower miter. Now we have one more piece to put on, and that's this butt joint. And to do that, we got to turn it back around again. And this piece has the butt joint on the right end, and put this last outside corner miter together. So we'll glue this one up with a line of glue, a nice bead of glue on both sides of the miter. Let me get a little bit more on that one. And then we can put this one together too. And this is the last miter. I'm going to put a spring clamp down here. And I'm still using my layup table to make sure that this stays square. I'm looking at the square that's remaining in here and kind of eyeballing that and keeping my pieces tight against those strips of those 1/4 inch strips of wood on the edges. Because if I don't keep the joint square, the projection and the drop on the crown molding can change. The spring angle can change. So these strips of wood on the corner here are more than just helping me keep the miters tight. They're helping me keep the spring angle the same, so the crown molding won't creep up or creep down too far. And there's one other thing I'm looking at when I'm pre-assembling these corners. Look here really, really close. Right at this point where my measurement mark is. I can't allow this piece of crown to crowd that measurement mark, because if I do, this dimension here will decrease and could become too small. And if this piece were going around a column and there were another outside corner over here, my goodness, when I went to install it, all the outside corners would pop open. And also keep in mind, that means if I can't crowd that pencil line, I got to look at that pencil line first before I fit this miter together. The fit of this miter isn't as important as making sure this piece of crown hits right at that pencil line. So now all I have to do is put some nails right through that miter. So we've pre-assembled all those little pieces that go around that little outside corner thing, and we've cut our cope joint on this piece right here, and we're ready to put these pieces up in that mock-up. I like to leave these clamps on the outside corners as long as I can, because the longer you leave them on there, the stronger that glue joint. We'll put this piece up here, and I'm just going to tack it in place. We'll just put one nail right through there, and that'll hold it up there until we put that cope joint up. I want the next piece, the coped piece, to straighten it out and to force it into exactly the right position. You can do that by putting the cope joint up against it and then smacking that, which is kind of the same thing you'd be doing in a room. You'd be putting in your cope pieces, cut them a hair long, spring them to the wall, and they'll force your other pieces into exactly the right spring angle, so your joints will close up and be watertight. Let me just adjust this one a little bit, and there we go. That is a tight cope joint. And we could adjust this one just a little bit on this end without messing up that cope joint and push it right up against the ceiling, so it's all nice and snug and tight. And that is how to install crown molding efficiently, productively, and have a good time while you're doing it too. If you want to learn more about installing crown molding, check out my DVD series, Mastering Finished Carpentry, and take a look at the Conquering Crown Molding DVD.